Starr and D'Amico Show brought to you by cheapesttshirts.ca. Men's, women's, children's t-shirts in all sizes. Hoodies too. Aprons, anything for merchandise, cheapesttshirts.ca. Buy today, ship tomorrow. McLean's Pub, 1210 Peel Street, your home away from home for all Montreal Canadiens games, and your home for D'Amico and Starr live once a month. Check out their website. Check them out in person, 1210 Peel Street in downtown Montreal. LittleBearOnline.com. Chuck and Evie and they're an amazing staff care about your pet as much as you do. Curbside pickup, local delivery. On St. Catherine across from Westmount Square, LittleBearOnline.com. And by Catherine Prince Realty. Remax Platine certified broker, the best in the business. South Shore, moving to Brossard, moving to Montreal to be closer to the Montreal Canadiens. Check out our website, Catherine with a K, CatherinePrince.ca. Just want a home evaluation? None better than Catherine Prince. Welcome to your Sunday morning live extravaganza. Another episode of the Starr and D'Amico Show. You can find us right here every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. coming into you live. Great to see so many people excited to talk Montreal Canadiens hockey. There's my partner in crime. It's Marco D'Amico with RG Media and a contributor to TSN 690 every Wednesday morning at 8:05. I can already tell my man is dreading the 8:05 wake-up call because the Canadiens, after their rookie dinner in Vancouver, are off to Seattle on Tuesday night. That's a late puck drop, but right off the hop, Marco, Ivan Demidov, a goal and 2 assists. The Montreal Canadiens rally to beat Vancouver 4-3 on a fun Saturday night of hockey. Nick Suzuki extends his point streak to 9 games. Uri Slafkovsky and Mike Matheson also scored as Montreal starts their first 10-game sample size with a 7-3 record. A lot of people, and you couldn't help but notice, the way that game started, hard to imagine that's how it was going to end. Marco, good morning. Good to see you, brother. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed as the Montreal Canadiens are 7-3 after 10 games. Pretty good. Pretty good, as Larry David would say.
I think so. Look, it was ironic that in a game like last night, the Canadiens, who are usually a strong first-period team, had their worst first period of the season.
Yes.
And then proceeded to have one of the better second periods that I've seen from them in a while, and then obviously took over in the third. And we're going to talk about Ivan Demidov. I think it's we do know what that means, Tony.
You got it.
It means more coffee. But I think ultimately we've been talking about it on the show. Fans have been asking for it. Ivan Demidov yesterday looked fantastic, top to bottom, and absolutely took off the moment he had the puck on his stick for more than 2 seconds. Where is the best time to be able to do that?
Yeah.
On the power play. And so it's been, I think we saw the first glimmer of it in Edmonton because they only had one power play in Edmonton, and Demidov was on the top pair. But this was the first time you really saw that top unit go to work, and how beautiful it was watching them do that reverse diamond. It's just the mobility, the puck movement, the player movement. Uri Slafkovsky was in the slot. Caufield was at the point. Nick Suzuki was in the stands buying popcorn and managed to come back and score.
Yeah.
They were all over the place. And that's the kind of movement and elite skill that is going to help this team not only stay above the 20%, but push 25% on the power play if they keep this unit together, because it was wildly dangerous to watch them play. And it all stems from having someone viable on the other circle, to opposite circle of Nick Suzuki and Caufield, that can make plays happen and open up passing lanes. And his name is Ivan Demidov.
And a superstar is starting to show his superstar skills. You see the potential, you see the vision, you see the execution, the big shot. And it's something that we, you and I have been talking about for months and months and months, right? From the summer to watching his KHL highlight reel tape was like, and then watching his first 10 games as a regular NHLer, thinking, man, when's he going to, every rookie wants to make their line mate shine, want to defer to veterans, put them in the spotlight a little bit. And you knew the shot was there. You've always known the shot is there. It's like, okay, 93, you can start ripping shots. He could have, obviously he gets the big clapper there, but earlier before he scores his goal, right, it's off the heel of his stick and it goes wide of the target on Kevin Lackinen yesterday. But he was integral. And when we talk about the first period yesterday, I was thinking to myself, watching, I said, damn, I haven't seen this team start this slowly in any of the 10 games. I'm like, Ooh, is my mind taking me to the rope-a-dope? Are they like kind of managing their output? Because if you recall, right, on Friday morning, we were talking about good teams have a pushback. They get jobbed by the referees. That's their perception of that performance and that loss, that 5-3 third period blown lead, the circumstances, right? And it's like, how are they going to respond to that? Are they going to go to Vancouver angry, ready to push this team out of their own building? And I was like, wow, I was surprised by the lack of push. A lot of icings by the Canadiens in the first 20 minutes. It was like, hey, a lot of uncoordinated passes. And then as the game started to build, the Canadiens' energy started to build. And I just loved how they managed that game. And then finally, the power play instrumental in that comeback victory in a 4-3 final in Vancouver, wasn't it, last night?
Yeah, and honestly, we talk about the power play, but thank you, Vincent. We appreciate you. To me, like, one of the things to keep into consideration here is it was improved 5-on-5 play that forced Vancouver to take penalties, right?
Yeah.
Like, it all stems from that. Oh my God. I was going to say good morning in Mandarin, but they don't speak. Well, yeah, they kind of do. Xinyan Kuai.
Oh, there you go.
I literally just said Happy New Year. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. How long were you over there? How long?
I spent 2 months in Beijing.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, my wife almost killed me. But we go back to, and there were a lot of Habs fans. I actually had a poutine in Shanghai because there was a poutine shop. And
was it like cheese curds or stringy cheese?
Yeah, it was the only place in China I had effing cheese, guys.
How did you find that place? Like, you Google it? Poutine in Beijing?
I was walking off the Bund. So for those that don't know, Shanghai is a river that goes through it called the Huangpu. Don't laugh.
Yeah.
And on one end you have the crazy skyline, and on the other end you have the old colonial side. And on the colonial side you have a lot of these restaurants. Yeah. And on behind that there was this little diner basically, and I walk in and there's a signed Guy Lafleur jersey. And the owner walks out and he's like, "You know who Guy Lafleur is?" And I was like, "Yes." And he was like, "I'm from Montreal." And I was like, "Well, then that's fun."
That's awesome.
So yes, having a poutine in Shanghai is possible. Back to what everybody is watching us for, because my trips around the world are not important. When it comes to the way that they've played at 5-on-5, the first period they were just getting hemmed. Yes. And it's because they were not controlling the pace of the game. They were not positioning themselves to cut plays and do quicker counterattacks, and they weren't playing with speed. The moment they started clicking and playing with speed again was ironically the second period with the long change. First little bit of it, second half of that second period, something started happening. And I want to bring attention to this because this is the one I feel like underdog situation. Didn't get any points, but was highly visible on one of the on Mike Matheson's goal.
I know where you're going.
Kirby Dach played an excellent, excellent game. Yeah,
he didn't get on the spinoramas, bro. He's trying spinoramas. Kirby Dach, his confidence is growing.
Exactly. And if Kirby Dach, because let's call a spade here. With Ivan Demidov at 5-on-5 is keeping Oliver Kapanen going. Oliver Kapanen has been a great complementary piece to that line, but between you, myself, and the fans, I think he's also getting the Demidov rub, right? Like, I think it's fair to say, and there's nothing wrong with that. Great players make other players better. It's totally normal.
Correct.
But if they can have that line going and Kirby Dach plays the way he played last night on a regular basis, then we're talking. Then it looks good because Kirby Dach pulled his line into war last night. Like, I don't think that Zachary Bolduc had necessarily a strong game before Kirby Dach started really gearing up. He had 3 shots. He pushed to the net. He was making crisp plays. Exactly. He looked hungry last night.
Exactly. Agreed.
And I think ultimately that pulled his line into it. And Zachary Bolduc seemed to feed on that, and they were going hard into the boards, puck recuperation, really just on his play. In fact, I think it was Joe Veleno, unfortunately, that kind of held that line back a little bit and then took that penalty, right? So to me, that duo of Bolduc and Dach, they look really, really good together. And that to me, on RDS, they call it la bougie d'allumage, like the fire starter.
Yep.
I think they got the party started at 5-on-5 to really kind of drive in and get things going, because they had excellent successive 5-on-5 play, and then they would stay in the zone. They'd leave. In comes the first line, continue to wear them down, and then eventually that's when Vancouver started taking, needless penalties, and that's where the Montreal Canadiens were able to take advantage.
We'll talk about Arbor Jackey's performance yesterday. I think he got one shift in the third period. We'll get into the reasons why and how he can fine-tune his game moving forward. Jakub Dobeš backstopping the Canadiens good down the stretch. When Adam Foote pulls the goalie with 4 minutes left, they get the reward right away. And the net front presence, that's something we talked about on Friday's show that needed to be better. I thought it was much better yesterday. Lots of crowds gathering in front of Jakub Dobeš. But I want to, when you talk about Kirby Dach, right, another forward, and we're going to get into the Demidov Palooza, the mania, the 3 points, how silly he made Pettersson look, to the point where Pettersson lost his stick because he was getting turned around repeatedly along the half wall there. Captain Nick Suzuki has arrived. His point streak has reached 9 games. The only game he didn't get a point in was the season debut in that loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Dylan Larkin extended his point streak to 9 consecutive games in Detroit's crazy comeback with St. Louis. The Blues, if you weren't watching the out-of-town scoreboard, they were up 4-0. And then boom, 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 boom. Just a parade of Detroit goals. So it looks like the Red Wings aren't fading away in the early blushes of a season. But when we look at Nick Suzuki's impact in that game, he was all over the place. Gets the point, obviously, instrumental down the stretch. Nick Suzuki went 14-5 in the faceoff circle yesterday and was fantastic when they needed him to be, when they needed possession in the defensive zone. We could talk about other captains of the Montreal Canadiens in our lifetimes, and I don't want to speak negatively of his predecessors, but this is exactly the player that the Canadiens saw. It's integral, right? If Nick Suzuki, when he got his contract, right, it was, oh man, they're paying him and they're projecting him to be. Nick Suzuki has arrived. It's what you want from your number one center. He's there every day. He's an all situations player, and he consistently shows up and has in the first 10 games of the season. Let's get into number 14 and how solid he's been 10 games in, Marco.
This is going to rub people the wrong way, but I actually haven't found him that solid. Offensively, I found that Cole Caufield and Juraj Slafkovsky have been driving the bus at 5-on-5 offensively. I think that Nick Suzuki has the Olympics on his mind. And by having the Olympics on his mind, you're starting to see a different type of utilization. Nick Suzuki is being used in a defensive situation as well, right? The top line is being asked to shut down the opposition. Yeah, well, Nick Suzuki being the Iron Man is nothing new. As I was informed, Nick Suzuki hasn't missed a hockey game since he was 14. Let's keep it that way. Yeah. So I think Nick Suzuki had a tough game against the Edmonton Oilers. I think Nick Suzuki had a tough first half of the game against the Vancouver Canucks. And it's not to, and again, like, this isn't to say like he's bad. Absolutely not. It's just he could be less visible in a game and then instantly have a major impact on it just like that. That's how talented he is. We're not going to leave Arbor alone, Habs Relic. I'm sorry. It needs to be said, and it will be said, and we're going to have a talk about it later, because it's not only me at this point. It's other scouts that were at the game last night in Vancouver that messaged me to talk about Arbor. So I understand protecting the player and liking the player, but the league is noticing. So I will leave that, and we'll talk about it in a sec. When it comes to Nick, I think he's been an elite defensive player so far this season. Elite. And the reason why you see that is because he's got the Olympics on his mind. He was challenged by John Cooper to show that he can be a force two-way, because one of the things is we all saw Nick Suzuki as being this defensive, or better yet, this two-way center. But really, if you looked at his statistics, he was getting caved in at 5-on-5 the last 2 seasons. He was getting a lot of his points on the power play. Mm-hmm. Well, now you're seeing a reversal where his overall defensive metrics at 5-on-5 are shooting up, and It's the offense that is not. Well, I mean, yeah, that's
Well,
it is personal.
like,
That,
come on, bro. Come on, man.
like
What are we
I
talking
can't
about here?
be I can't be personal when I talk about players, even though
He's
I
also
talk to
not
them in the room.
he's
Right?
also a child. We're not parents, playing Pee Wee House League at the Ray Bork Arena. This is a professional hockey player in a
The
professional hockey.
Ray Bork Arena. Oh,
That's where I grew up, brother.
Unlocked.
That's where I grew up.
Unlocked.
Yeah.
So
He's a
and again, it's all good, Habs Relic. I mean, it's like I said, it's all good, and we'll get with Arbor in a second.
Crazy.
But again, when it comes back to Nick Suzuki, I just feel like Nick Suzuki has been doing everything well in terms of the defensive side of the puck. But I just feel like we're not seeing the same jam from him, the same speed that we saw at the tail end of last season. Yeah. And I don't know if it's just him trying to manage his energy better, which is possible because he was legitimately burnt out by the end of last season. But there's just something missing. And that's why I feel like I've noticed Cole Caufield, who is just like,
oh my gosh, yes,
Speedy Gonzalez on the ice this year, just all over the place. Looks like an elite. Like I watch Cole Caufield now. You know who he reminds me of?
Martin St. Louis.
Johnny Gaudreau on the ice. Man.
Okay,
he is everywhere. He looks like the 100-point Johnny Gaudreau in Calgary. May he rest in peace. So. Yes, Lucy, I think that Suzuki is gunning for that 4C role for the Olympics, or at least to be utilized in a bottom 6 role if on the wing. I don't think he really cares, but if you have that option, why not take it? And so I think Nick Suzuki is well positioning himself right now to be on that Olympic roster. And let me tell you that from what I've heard from Hockey Canada, they're hoping he proves them right or proves them wrong in the sense that he wasn't at the Four Nations and he could be on it now. The last thing I'm going to say is if he can just take the pace up a notch, if he can just bring it to support to control, that's we're not going to be talking about 9-10 game point streaks. We're going to be talking about point per game ratios that are over 1.5.
Yeah, totally.
That's where it might get dangerous.
Eddie, baby, I was born with this face. There ain't nothing I could do with it. That's why I'm on the radio and why I'm shocked we have as many views as we have on YouTube.com. Thank
you for watching.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I mean, Ed could be Brad Pitt. I don't know. Probably not, though. Odds suggest. But Jakub Dobeš goes to 5-0, finishes with a save percentage over 900 again. And Jesus. I mean, he's gonna. If it's my call to make, the road trip ends. The road trip ends with Jakub Dobeš Tuesday in Seattle. For me, il n'y a pas de choix, mon gars. C'est logique que Jakub Dobeš sera dans le filet mardi soir. Like. There's no debate. There's no room for interpretation. No disrespect to Jose Theodore and what he feels Sam Montembeault deserves here. Like this team, it's already I'll be honest. It's already a successful road trip for me. Nobody has more points than the Canadiens do in the NHL, though they have played 2 more games than some of the other clubs, right? But 14 is where it's at. And Jakub Dobeš is 5-0. And to me, you got to sustain this momentum because, as you know, Marco, I'll point this out to everybody else. Like, they don't play again till Saturday after Tuesday night. So it's Jakub Dobeš for multiple reasons, right? Like, are you and I going to get into this or do you see it?
Get into this. I mean, listen, I think your take is far-fetched and you should leave.
Okay.
That's it. We're
Thanks
done.
for watching, everybody.
My only fear about playing Dobeš against Seattle, first of all, I believe that Montembeault was in nets when the Canadiens beat Seattle and Montreal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just keeping that in mind, I wouldn't be surprised if Martin St. Louis went with Montembeault. The other reasoning I have is, like you mentioned, they don't play again until November 1st. So are you really going to make Montembeault go 9 games without a start, 10 days without a start? Like, then you're coming in cold to this one, right?
Right.
You haven't played. The last game you played was a stinker, and you're playing against a divisional rival that is the Ottawa Senators. Those games, to me, are more difficult. More, I mean, and again, like this is a cool little statistic, but Nick Suzuki was used like a maniac after the Four Nations.
I agreed. Yes.
Right. Like, it kind of defeats the purpose. He played more than all the players that are usually listed above. Like he was playing 22 minutes a game, playing both power play waves. Like I think he's been excellent, but let's be let's be honest here. Like, he was used at outrance. It was insane. And power to him. He proves that he's an elite first-line player, and I agree with that. But that statistic that ranges over any stat that ranges over 2 seasons, I don't necessarily take super seriously.
Yeah.
Now, bring it back to Montembeault. I'm of the ilk, give him Seattle. I'm of the ilk because I would rather have Dobeš against Ottawa. To me, and I don't think there's a world where the Canadiens go Dobeš. And then the next game is like the Tuesday after. So you'd basically go almost 2 weeks without a game for Montembeault. Like, you're asking for trouble if your plan is to get Monty going. And that is,
I mean, they already have. They already went Dobeš already this season. I mean, it's already happened, right?
Yes, but not in the context of Montembeault didn't play for 10 games or 10 days, 15.
Fair.
Well, that's the thing, right? You don't want to leave your goalie cold. You cannot leave your goalie cold because he's just playing in his head. And you got to factor in like player psychology in this situation, especially goalies who are like cerebral players. You're just letting them simmer in their mind on the very, very, very emotional loss to the Edmonton Oilers. Let me tell you, that was emotional. And, even the Canadiens players looked like they still hadn't gotten over it in the first period against the Vancouver Canucks, right? It looked like they were missing their mojo a little bit and needed to find it. Well, imagine the goalie in Montembeault, right? And so to me, exactly, Montembeault needs to get going. You're not doing yourselves any favor as a hockey club for the long term of this season if you're just going to ride Dobeš and forget about Montembeault. Like, you as an organization have to get both going. Dobeš is firing on all cylinders. He is your safety net right now. But I don't think the Canadiens are at a point, pun intended, where every single point matters right this very second because of where they are.
That's a hot take.
Well, look, they were dead last at this point last season. They're first in the NHL right now. Or first in the East right now.
Yeah, they're first, tied for first, 14 points. Nobody had more points.
So you have this cushion. What's more valuable to you? Riding Dobeš because it's nice? Or do you want to get to a point?
No. It's not because it's nice. It's because it's the right thing to do. The team is the guy. Sam Montembeault is an .842 save percentage. I hate to be harsh. That's Caden Primo, baby. He was .836 last year. This is Caden Primo territory.
Well, Caden Primo has never shown an ability to be better than that. Montembeault has. And that is
and it's still there. And I don't think Marco if Dobeš plays Tuesday and then Montembeault gets back or whatever, like, I don't think that layoff. I think it's a good thing personally.
Not for goalies like that. They want to get back in as quickly as possible to change their fortunes, to get the mojo going. And I'll flip you this one even further. The Canadiens have 14 more back-to-back games this season. If Montembeault is not ready to go, you might as well throw in the towel for all of them.
Well, I think that's a defeatist attitude. Like, these guys are all about correction and video, with Eric Raymond working. And like, I can tell you that Martin St. Louis, Eric Raymond is going to have a huge hand in deciding when Montembeault gets back in. Like, Marty leans on Eric Raymond quite a bit.
Yes. And so that's where if we have to go with the goalie psychology that I've gotten used to over the years, this is definitely it. This is definitely where this conversation comes in. Oh, okay. I saw Kirkland for a second. Like, neighbor Kirkland.
Oh, Barry Ferguson is a lot. I haven't seen Barry. Barry, what's good, brother? Good to see you, man.
I personally am not of the ilk that I would necessarily want to ride a rookie goaltender. Thank you, I'm not of that ilk. I think that, first of all, the Sick podcast does good work. I refuse to play that game. I think that Tony and the gang are fantastic. I have a lot of good friends there. If we can all work in this domain, then we're all chilling. Let's all make money here. When it comes to, and we're going to end on this point, when it comes to my viewpoint, I don't want to get to, when this is going to become a goalie controversy?
Go ahead.
You're going to ride Dobeš. Montembeault's going to get one game in 2 weeks from now. If he doesn't stand on his head, boom. It's over, right? So in my estimation, in my opinion, especially with the condensed schedule that you have this year, now is the time where you want to get Montembeault going.
But why does everything have to be extremes though? Like, it's not, if it doesn't,
it's not extreme.
Like, you're saying, if he doesn't stand on his head, like, that's a big,
make a timely,
I'm just saying, with making a timely save here.
Yeah, but I'm saying that if it's an 888 save percentage and they still win the game, people aren't going to have confidence in him.
Right.
If it's a 910 save percentage, 915 save percentage, okay, now we're going to be talking about Montembeault turning his game around. So the narrative shifts, and you have to be careful about that narrative, especially for a goaltender, because you have Dobeš right there, and so that's the thing you have to be careful. And yes, Dobeš has been good. Do I think that he was the reason the Canadiens won last night? No. I think that he had less of a say in this game than other games. And that's not to say he played a bad game in any way, shape, or form. It just means that a lot of the shots coming in were periphery.
Correct, but I'll give you an example, right? When they pull the goaltender and it's 4-2 Montreal and Garland scores beautiful, beautiful goal, right? Beautiful deflection, right? It was great. What happened right after that? Brock Besser does the exact same thing. What happens after that? Jakub Dobeš makes a huge, huge stop, right? Like puck tracking, reading the play. And it doesn't dismiss your earlier point about perimeter stuff, but
no, he's been great.
That's the difference right there for me right now.
I'm just saying, if the Canadiens play better in front of Montembeault defensively as well, I think that will necessarily help you. If you need a goalie to bail you out, which the Canadiens have had with Dobeš's starts, I don't know that that's very sustainable no matter what goalie plays in front of you, right? So to me, that's where I'm kind of with this. And I also believe that Montembeault is capable of bouncing back. I would give more rope. Give more rope simply just because, and again, I state this, you absolutely need a tandem this season. You absolutely need a tandem. I mean, listen, I'm not going to get into this debate.
We got West Island boroughs fighting.
Yeah, like I live in neither of those boroughs. I was just like, proximity.
I love Beaconsfield. I love Kirkland. I love Point Claire. I love Dollard. Do we love Roxborough? Yeah, we love Roxborough. Of course we love Roxborough. We got lots here to get to today. And I just want to pull this comment up. Michelle, it's not really the point I was making. I would never in my rightful mind ever suggest that practice it's more important than a game. So like we could dial that down a little bit, but it's all about video dissecting. Eric Raymond, the goalie coach, helping fine tune. Like, can we agree that right now Sam Montembeault is just a little lost? He's lost his confidence and he's trying to find his game again. So how do you do that? How do you do that? And like,
well, to me, it comes into the game plan, right? It comes into the game plan. You know that your goalie's playing with lower confidence. Maybe limit the amount of high danger chances against. Maybe play a little bit lower on the zone, right? Like I've been talking about this for a while, where outside of Nick Suzuki, and I think that we've talked about this before because of his defensive side of the game, Nick Suzuki is the only center for the Montreal Canadiens that are okay. We're just going to be doing a Montreal Borough shout out. Let's go.
No disrespect. I love Dorval. Big fan of the circle out there. You guys got a great circle out in Dorval.
We're just going to do it. I'm waiting for the St. Leonard residents right now to just be like,
where's my Ville Saint Laurent loyalty? Come on. I'm a Ville Saint Laurent boy. Let's go.
Comment yourself and then post it. When it comes to the centers as well, I find that the opposition. Where's the love for Brassard? It's a lovely place. It's a lovely place. But the 10, getting to the 10 gives me nightmares.
Oh, I love Brassard. I could see myself out there.
Yeah, eventually when I retire and never want to go back to the island. There you go.
Yeah.
So again, just finishing off on this point, I feel like when we get to a point where you want to defend a goalie and you really want to be there for a goalie, centers have to play lower in the zone so that the slot shot is not available. That's what killed Monty in the last couple of games, is that shots from the periphery that get tipped in front and or get stopped and then go back the other way. A lot of it has to do with proper coverage so that the goalie could be properly positioned to do it. On Montembeault's end, his glove hand. To me, it's the glove hand. It's always been, it always will be his weak point. The book is out on that. He's got to time his glove better. Some of the goals we saw against the Oilers, his glove was down before he had to flip it up and try to make the save. That's a half a second that you're never going to get back in your range of motion. So it's just about getting back to those basics and making sure that you're ready for those. And then ultimately when he gets into game time, be it Tuesday, be it Saturday, be it the Tuesday following, just being able to do it in a way that would be sustainable. I would personally not, if he hasn't found his confidence, play him against the Ottawa Senators. That is a divisional game. I would play Dobeš in that game. Yep. Absolutely. So the question then becomes, do you play him this Tuesday or next Tuesday? And I just feel like next Tuesday is so far of a gap in play that I don't know that you'd be doing him any favors.
You just hope that, based on how Ottawa played on a Saturday night, you hope they don't get that version. Maybe they calm themselves down after dropping a 7-burger on the road in Washington. So we'll wait to see how it all shakes out. I think you've heard my point of view. Clearly, you heard Marco's point of view there.
Wow.
Before we get into
1,000 viewers. Thank you guys for showing up in droves.
Before we get into Ivan Demidov and his factor into that hockey game yesterday, let's talk about how Arber Xhekaj could regain the trust of his coach. The second interference penalty, that was full stop. The first one, I thought it was a bit chintzy. That was chintzy. The second interference was a no-doubter. There was a note. That was a tough one for Arber. But what are the things that you think Xhekaj needs to do? And again, we're talking about a guy that, again, didn't have a lot of ice time. Once again, that's been thematic for Arber Xhekaj since Caden Goalie went down. But it seems like it's a massive challenge, Marco, from my side of the table here, in how Xhekaj can regain the trust, because I don't know how much of it he has today.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. And I think when you look at Arber Xhekaj, I think, let's talk about the positives. He brings a lot of toughness to this team. I think he keeps guys honest when he's on the ice. I think he gives the Canadiens players more confidence to play their game and assume that they're not going to be, bodied necessarily. And then when it comes to the negatives, I just feel like, unfortunately, it's the needless penalties. Like, again, you talked about it. That first interference call was soft, but if that kind of an interference call gets called, why would you even chance what you did on the second one? Yeah. So to me, I think it's a concentration discipline issue. And again, I know we'll get there. Don't worry about that. Thank you, Ben. I just feel like you should know better at this point. This is his 4th season with the Montreal Canadiens. You should know at this junction that discipline has been an issue. Don't go out of your way when there's a guy injured and you're trying to assert yourself in the league, because the bad penalties aren't going to help you. And then once the bad penalties kick in, then you're trying to overcompensate when you come back to try and regain the trust of your coach, and you're overcommitting yourself. And I think that's the thing. It's the situational awareness, is that he's overcommitting himself. He's playing over aggressively. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here. So ultimately, to me, I think he's got to simplify his game. We talked about this with Mike Matheson. You got to simplify the game. You got to just worry about the details, chip the puck out, build on that play by play by play by play. Because when Arber Xhekaj is on his game, I honestly feel like he is I wouldn't say a difference maker, but he's a piece on that ice. He is a presence that can impact a game. And so, with a big hit or boxing guys out, that's where you really want to see him. He's 6'4". Use your reach, use your stick. Separate guys from pucks. Don't worry about the interference. Just be better positioned. Be more ready to attack a play. And I feel like it's that level. It's what separates Jaden Struble for me from Arber Xhekaj, because Jaden Struble does that. If Jaden Struble were 6'4" and 220, I think we'd be talking about an all-world defenseman here in terms of defensive ability. But, if we could fuse them, then that would be really good. But I think Struble thinks the game better. And I think that's why Martin St. Louis trusts him more. And I think that Arber Xhekaj can think the game better. And he has shown an ability to do so. But unfortunately, I feel like it's almost like a snowball effect. And I think no one's saying to get rid of him. Absolutely nobody.
Well, hold on. I mean, you're not saying it. I'm not saying it. But boy, there's a lot of people
Okay.
A lot of people have the opinion, and again, there's a lot of reaction. There's a lot of reaction here to one player, right?
You need depth.
Yes.
You absolutely need depth in this league. If Caden Goalie goes down, you need to have a guy like Arbor Xhekaj that can step in. So
Agreed.
I have zero qualms with having Arbor Xhekaj as part of the Montreal Canadiens. I think he adds an element that they don't necessarily have throughout their lineup, especially when Caden Goalie is injured. So we're not even there yet.
No.
What I will say, however, is eventually the Canadiens are going to have to make a choice on their defense, because Adam Enstrom is knocking on the door so hard that you may need to replace the la sonnerie. You may need to replace the doorbell, because he's just so close to being NHL ready. And eventually the Canadiens are going to have to make room. I'm not saying they have to trade Arbor Xhekaj, but this is the point in time in his career where if you want to be a Montreal Canadien long term, well, that consistency needs to be there, because the Canadiens are no longer in a rebuilding situation. So again,
100%.
I'm not about bashing on the player with nothing. There are ways out of this. There are solutions that he can look to, and I'm sure the Canadiens coaching staff are talking to him about this, where he can improve on his play, or at least simplify it so that he can build that confidence. Hi, Denis, and eventually come back to form. Because when Arbor Xhekaj is on his game, Shaun, man, is he a fun player to watch.
He is fun. But the consistency is the key word in everything you had just said. It's back-to-back games. It was Thursday and then in Vancouver last night, where it became worst case scenario. In Edmonton, it was 8:49. It was 6:37 last night, 6:48 against Chicago. So 3 times this season, Xhekaj hasn't hit at least the 10-minute marker, right, in his games.
Yeah.
But it comes down to, like what you had mentioned earlier, and I see the same thing with Jaden Struble, right? Just thinks the game in a different way. And listen, it's always a dangerous proposition to think what someone else is thinking.
Yeah.
But I can't speak to, is he in his own head? Is he nervous? Is he overthinking situational play? But it's going to be something Arbor has to figure out with the coaching staff in terms of what they need more of, how he can walk that line. Can walk that line and be a very tough defenseman while staying out of the penalty box. Because I do agree, and I've asked Darren Dreger this a few times, you dangle Arbor Xhekaj, you're going to have the rest of the league lining up to get this guy.
Oh yeah. I think league-wide he presents an opportunity for teams looking for toughness. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that right off the bat is where his value to the Montreal Canadiens is at his highest. And I think I've spoken about this. I would only consider moving Arbor Xhekaj if it was in a trade for a bona fide 2C. Anything less than that, there's no point. You're not going to get more value from that. So I don't see the need in having that conversation at this point. And the Canadiens will have to make an evaluation throughout the season. That's on them. I ain't going to tell them what to do. So we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that with Xhekaj. Again, very fixable. Not the end of the world. Just, maybe just needs to reset mentally in that regard and just kind of simplify the game. But there are definitely ways that he can come back to prominence.
So the sample size has now reached 10 games, right? The simple math is if you can pick up 12 points in every 10-game sample size to get you over 96 points, that should be good enough to get you into the playoffs. The Canadiens have 14 points through 10 games. And I want to get into, and we will get to Demidov, I promise. And we're going to tie it in here. 10 games in, Nick Suzuki, 13 points. Cole Caufield, 10. Demidov, 9. Lane Hutson, 9. Alex Newhook, 7. Oliver Kapanen, 7 points. This is how, over 1,000 viewers right now live. Thank you so much for being a part of the channel. Please hit that like button. But this is the depth. This is the depth this fan base has been waiting for here. I mean, not only the team picking up points, and for me, one of the biggest things, Marco, is I love having goals that you can achieve. And one of their goals was to not be in October this year the team that you saw in October last year. And they've definitely checked that box. Here we are live on October 26th, right? But
what's changed?
Demidov, Cole Caufield, Uri Slafkovsky not being second half Slav in the first half.
Not being first half Slav.
Yeah. Oliver Kapanen providing the depth. Lane Hudson picking up more or less where he left off, especially after he got the contract finalized and done and put that in the rear view or a rear view mirror. Jakub Dobesh picking up his teammate when he hasn't been the best version of himself. I mean, there are so many areas to point at.
There's one thing that all of those are in common. One thing, and that is every single young player has taken a step again.
Exactly. Yes.
And then within that, you've added new young players. So now you have stratified offense, that depth, secondary scoring. And that's why I love that you brought Ivan Demidov up, because although we all view him as the future franchise forward for this team, as of this junction, he is the Canadiens' secret weapon to secondary scoring. Is he not?
Yeah. Yep.
And I feel like therein lies the difference, is the Canadiens' offense is driving the bus now. They're not being bailed out by their goaltender. In fact, we're trying to find ways to get Samuel Montembeault back in it.
Yeah. And there's another one.
Thank you, Etienne, because
Mike Matheson and Noah Dobson. Holy cow.
Because the Canadiens' defense has gone from being bottom 5 in the NHL to being top 5 in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Samurai Knight. It was I remember watching it, and my wife turns to me at one point and goes, "Oh man, what's going on here?" And I was like, "Wait, watch. I have a feeling something's going to happen." And then lo and behold, right? So it was a crazy game. But I will speak to this. You know, one of the things the Canadiens have always tried to do is be that quick, skilled counterattack team. They didn't have the players to be able to execute that kind of a style yet. You saw them get close to it, which is the reason why they were like mashing the Lane Hudson button when it came time to pairing him with the top pair, with the top line, and those 5 guys went to work. You don't have to do that anymore, right? Lane Hudson on a second pair is an absolute luxury in this NHL. Ivan Demidov on a second line is an absolute luxury in the NHL. And to me, I think that is the major difference between what we see last year and this year, is that the quality of the depth and the acquisitions made, to me, far outrank what they had last year. And I will specifically point to 2 players here. Ivan Demidov, Noah Dobson. The injection of those 2 elite players, to me, has completely transformed this team from on a 5-on-5 basis. And sure. I don't think at this point it's deniable. And I think the more interesting part is I don't think either of them, obviously Demidov for obvious reasons, but I don't think either of them are still playing at the maximum of their capacity. They still have another level to get to.
So Ivan Demidov showed up in a massive way. Not an exaggeration, fanboy take to think that this guy, please everybody on a Sunday.
Thank you, Jesus.
We're listening to Jesus
on a Sunday,
7 days a week, but especially on a Sunday. Frank talks about it. He's 100% right. Everybody's engaged. Even though they pulled a little bit of a rope-a-dope yesterday, decide to give you a reversal of what we've seen. Let's kind of be patient in the first period and then rise as the Canadiens did in Vancouver, thanks to the power play, thanks to Martin St. Louis making a key adjustment. I mean, the 5-man unit that was out there, it was art. It was art to watch them skate, move the puck, sustain pressure. I mean, we talk about Demidov's, shot and what he can do and his skill set. I loved how silly he made Elias Pettersson look with the twists and the turns. Pettersson loses a stick, and the vision, I'll put my hand up. Like, I didn't watch I don't watch KHL hockey. Let me just be blunt, right? But, right? Like, I can admit that, right? The vision. Everyone told me about the talent of what this fan base was going to see when Demidov arrived on the scene. But the vision, I mean, I'm surprised because, again, I don't watch KHL hockey, but that vision, man, is crazy good.
Then you're really going to like Alexander Zhuravsky.
Hey, he's got like 9 points. This guy's kicking ass and taking names in the KHL.
Yep, exactly. So I think if you liked vision, he has similar vision to Demidov, doesn't necessarily have the same skill. Yeah. Well, there you go, Boo. Thank you very much. I don't necessarily think he's on Demidov's level, but I think he's the level right under, and that's a really good proposition when you draft him in the second round.
Dude, how about those Ole chants breaking out in Vancouver yesterday? That's got to be so frustrating, eh? You're a Canucks player, like, what the frig, man?
I have said this I will continue to say this, and I will always say this.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this because I live in the city or I cover the team. The Montreal Canadiens fans are the best diaspora fan base.
My gosh. Yeah.
And you think, like, people talk about the Canadiens fans as being solely in Quebec. And obviously there's an historical precedence for that. And I get that. But there are more Canadiens fans outside of the province of Quebec than there are in it. And it would be even more true if the Quebec Nordiques were still with us. So I think the passion of this fan base spans outside of the city. It is fantastic to watch. And I get texts from my friends. Like, I have a couple of friends that cover the Calgary Flames, a couple of my friends that cover the Oilers, and I'm getting messages from them being like, this is ridiculous. So kudos to you, out-of-town fans. Takes a lot of dedication to follow a team outside. And, you guys impress me every single game, and kudos to you guys for making what was a very entertaining game even that more funny. In terms of Zorovsky, his contract expires as of June 1st, 2027. He's getting about 14 to 15 minutes a game on average right now. So with Ufa, you don't have to worry about his ice time like Demidov, so you can just kind of leave him be.
Yeah.
But let's get back to Demidov here. When it comes to Demidov, I think everyone and their mother kind of knew that he was going to be this puck possession monster and has the vision. I think what's impressed me the most is the one-on-one ability and the body use, right? He's not shying away from the physicality. Usually you'll see guys come out of the KHL not necessarily fond of the first shoulder check when it comes to board battling, especially on a line where he has to sometimes dump and chase. You want to know what Ivan Demidov's retrieval record is on a dump and chase right now?
What is it?
75%.
Jeez Louise.
That's insane.
My gosh.
Insane. Not just for a rookie, and not just for a rookie that played in the KHL, which, mind you, is 90% small NHL ice at this junction. But this is a skill player that is winning board battles more often than not, and continuing the play and just cycling back and forth and not being afraid to play the dirty areas and go where he needs to go. So again, to me, the talent is always going to be there. I have no problem with that. What's going to make Ivan Demidov a superstar in this league is that he never gives up on a play. The effort is constantly there. Yeah. And he has no qualms, zero, about having to sacrifice the body in order to make a play. That, to me, is the ultimate sign of a sustainable superstar in the making.
And the other, as a compliment to Demidov's game, like, obviously the guy's trying really hard and is he's breaking ankles NBA style every time he's out there. He makes it look easy, almost effortless, in a word, to see him when he's out there. He's so confident in his movements. And to me, the skill set is there, but the mature side of his game is what really surprises me. At 19 years of age, like, I would never dare compare myself at 19 to where this young man is. But like, it's beyond. I respect his game so much to be that composed and to see. I mean, are we now is the next step more minutes? It was 13 minutes and change on the road in Vancouver on a Saturday night that pays off with 3 points from 93. The Canadiens go 2 for 3 on the power play to turn this around. But I wonder how much patience Martin St. Louis has, because you got to give the coach some credit. I mean, they're squeezing every ounce of juice out of Demidov's minutes per game here.
Am I going to give credit to Martin St. Louis for doing the most obvious thing? No.
Well, some coaches would rush. They was like, here you go, run, right? Like, I've seen that before.
But he had no problem doing that with Cole Caufield when Cole Caufield was having his up and down season in 2022. Stuck him right on the top line and put him right on the first power play wave, and off went Caufield, right? Man, and we're going to get to Caufield in a sec, because we just talked about Nick Suzuki Olympics. I'm going to talk
Evander
about
Kane almost broke him yesterday. Good grief.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, though, like, I think that's that. Part of that, to me, was Cole Caufield kind of, letting the cross-check go, and he kind of flew into that. I'm not saying he embellished, but if Cole Caufield were 5'10", I don't think he flies into the boards, is all I'm saying.
Well, nothing you could do about that.
Exactly. Can't teach that. But when we get to Demidov, I mean, to me, I think you want to increase his minutes. Those minutes are going to come at 5-on-5. So what has to change? Martin St. Louis needs to trust that line that he's on more. And I think that's the key, right? If you want him to play 17 minutes a game on average, the average amount of power play that a team will get is about 2.5 in a game, right?
Right.
Well, you have to assume if he's going to play on the first power play wave, he's going to get about a minute and a half a game on that. So that's 3 minutes to, if it's 2.5, let's bring it to, I don't know, let's say 3.5 minutes, say, of special teams time. If you want him to hit 17, 18 minutes, then he's got to play 14 to 15 minutes at even strength.
Yeah.
Well, for that to happen, Martin St. Louis needs to trust his line more, because right now they're playing him 10 minutes of even strength time. And that simply is unsustainable to me. You need to play him more. So it's at 5-on-5. And so when you say that, we have to give Martin St. Louis credit here, I give Martin St. Louis credit, for example, when it comes to the evolution of a Cole Caufield. Cole Caufield is a two-way force right now in this league. He is gritty. He's fast. His puck recuperation is elite. His forechecking is absolutely flawless. His neutral zone play is like years ahead of where we saw him even last year. Sure. So I think he's thinking the game in such an elite way that you honestly see young Martin St. Louis on the ice when Cole Caufield is on the ice, which is ironic because he's half his number. When it comes to Ivan Demidov, I'm sorry, but first power play wave time isn't going to cut it. And I don't think the solution is to take Juraj Slafkovsky off the top line. At a certain point in time, Martin St. Louis needs to trust that his defensive player, that his offensive player can play defense. And one of the things, and I'll say this quote because Martin St. Louis put this quote out yesterday, and I'll read it out to you guys. I've known all along that Demi can play first wave, first power play. I feel I got to a certain point with Demi where he showed me he's willing to play on the other side of the game, the defensive game, and he's actually very attentive and trying to keep getting better. Okay, well, if that's the case, then you need to start also applying said logic to 5-on-5 where said defensive attention applies. Because I don't care if Ivan Demidov can play defense on the power play. That's usually where they go to work. Like if we all remember Nick Suzuki started on the fourth line with the Montreal Canadiens in 2019, but was getting power play time. So he was getting confidence on the man advantage and getting puck touches on the man advantage. And then his line, remember with Nate Thompson, we're scoring goals left and right. And then he just kept going up in minutes. Well, I feel like that's what needs to happen here with Ivan Demidov, because I don't think he needs to change lines. I just think that, if Martin St. Louis is playing the Evans line as his second line at 5-on-5, something's not right. And I think that's where the Canadiens will run into trouble against stronger teams, is you got to let your offensive players play more.
One of the things we talked about in the offseason, in the aftermath of Christian Dvorak and Yoel Armia leaving the organization, right, as free agents, that who are going to be the primary players to play those minutes to help the Canadiens be a good penalty-killing unit. Looks like Josh Anderson through 10 games. Took him a few games to get going, but he had a glorious opportunity, ringy-dingy off the post. But the speed burst is there. I see more engagement. And even Jake Evans, too, a little slow out of the gate. But also that line is rounding into form. Brendan Gallagher is still looking for his first goal of the season, but it's got, I think, six or seven assists now at this point. I forget.
He's been great.
But that's, and I think that takes me back to something I've said before, and maybe to counter your point about Cole Caufield, when Martin St. Louis first got hands on the guys, there are more locked in positions. There are more locked in defined roles, whereas there's very little experimentation still left, but it's nice to see the depth players starting to, pick up and find up. Josh Anderson, too, had a better game in Vancouver last night.
Yeah, no, for sure. He had a better game, but I would also venture to say golden opportunity and Josh Anderson on a breakaway. I feel like, it's just such an unfortunate outcome almost every time.
The Paul Byron style.
Paul Byron converted more often than not on a breakaway. Therein lies my argument when it comes to Josh Anderson. Just unlucky when it comes to breakaways. Hit a post.
I even remember Byron. Byron was the king of the shorthanded breakaway for his time here. I remember covering the guy when he was at Gatineau Olympique.
King of the shorthanded breakaway goal, as in he would convert more often than not. That's That's where I have my issue with Josh Anderson. You talk about Jake Evans and finding the PK and the depth and being able to have some depth players come in and do scoring. Let us have a conversation about the other PK wave, which is Alex Newhook and Oliver Kapanen.
Man, Alex Newhook doesn't stop, bro.
Alex Newhook, other than, and I keep saying this, and I think this is the joke we made to him in the room, but sometimes he'll receive a pass and it's like he's receiving a grenade. Sometimes he's like trying to like stick handle it and try to make a play, and it's just not there. And it goes back the other way, but then he obviously comes back and fixes up the play and kills it and brings it back the other way. But I feel like in the Canadiens' speed identity, the Canadiens' quick transition identity, man, is he ever fitting into it. Mm-hmm. Putting him on the wing, having him just charge up the ice with speed, come in and just, play that cycle game and really kind of help two younger guys in Oliver Kapanen and Ivan Demidov. It is really fun to watch him play. And it's not by chance that he's getting the points that he's getting this year. And we're seeing the offensive ability that the Canadiens thought that they were going to get. It ironically came, thank you, Paul, it ironically has come from the confidence that he's gotten playing on the penalty kill.
Sure.
Because that pairing of Kapanen and Newhook has actually been really good on the PK. And I think it speaks to their ability. Kapanen has good hockey sense. He's a really strong defensive center. And Alex Newhook is a bomb when it comes to the way he skates. He's a faster skater, straight line, than Josh Anderson. And I would just, we saw it in a couple of times, and I think there's going to be a lot of ragers in the comments being like, Alex Newhook should have passed on that 2-on-1 to Ivan Demidov.
Dude, I was thinking the same thing. Like, okay, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, I kind of understand why he did it, though, because the defenseman had pivoted in accordance to try and put his stick down to block the pass.
And so I bet you they thought the gamble was, of course he's going to pass. Of course he was going to defer to Demidov there.
Demidov just have scored, you'd assume. But, so I think Alex Newhook has been such a positive player. Yeah. Thank you, Deke.
I agree with you, Deke. I'm biased, though. I'm very biased.
But, I think that he is one of those elements that has been fantastic. As the Canadiens try to figure out who is going to be sticking around for when they become competitive, man, Alex Newhook is doing a fantastic job of cementing himself as like the guy on their third line that can play a role on the PK and that could be inserted on the power play on the second wave if need be. To me, him and Kapanen together have given the Canadiens a legitimate top 9 line that could be cycled in and out. And when you added Demidov to that combo, that is, in my opinion, the Canadiens' de facto second line. To me, that line should be playing. We talked about this at the top, but the way that all three are playing, that line should be playing no less than 13 minutes on even strength time. No less. It has to be, in my opinion, especially in games like last night, it has to be higher. Last night, Alex Newhook played 11:46 in terms of 5-on-5 ice time. To me, not enough. Not enough at all. Yeah. Oliver Kapanen, 10:31. Not enough. You need to see more. And I understand the Canadiens were trying to, retain a lead with the last 5 minutes of the game. But that's still, like, to me, it needs to be higher. Ivan Demidov played 9:40 at 5-on-5. That needs to be higher. That absolutely needs to be higher.
Agreed. Yes. And I mean, it's when you have consistent performances like 93 has had here, it's only a matter of time. I mean, pas de choix, comme on dit à la belle province. Which leads me down the path. And we're, Marco and I are going to dive into Mike Matheson's future with the Montreal Canadiens. Both of us are of the mind that there is a long-lasting future between the organization and the player, but we want to put some numbers on it, and we want to put some comps on that, so you can look forward to that. We're also going to get into the Calder race for Rookie of the Year. Can the Montreal Canadiens run it back? There's only one team in the history of the NHL since they've been handing the Calder out for Rookie that's won it 3 years in a row, and that's the Toronto Maple Leafs going back to the 40s, right? So with the Canadiens having Lane Hutson win it last season, where's Demidov slotting in with Matthew Schaefer? Who else can push him? Yes, we know Jakub Dobeš is in the mix too. So is Oliver Kapanen. But we'll get into all that coming up this week on the channel, right? But to me, there's a couple of things here as we talk about is where the organization could look at what they've done in October and say, okay, how do we build on this? I wonder what the threshold is, like rounding up the depth on defense. I don't know how sustainable it is with Caden Goalie on the shelf. We haven't even talked about Patrik Laine and the awful luck this guy has, right? But like on the defensive side of the ledger, but hold on the defensive side of the depth chart, right? Arbor Jacki playing 6-7 minutes. I don't know how sustainable that is. Like we talk about secondary scoring here, building up the depth of defense. I wonder where that is. Adam Engstrom and Laval, Caden Goalie will eventually return, right? But that's something to me I'm paying attention to a little bit here.
Yeah, well, I feel like if the Canadiens were in a situation where they were contending, a little bit more experience on their bottom pair would probably be in order. My 2 cents, right? But they're not there yet, so you have the time to make that evaluation. I'm not necessarily worried. I think that you can easily ride your top 3 of Dobson, Matheson, Hudson, and then sprinkle a little bit of Alex Carrier in there if you need a shutdown situation like we saw against Edmonton, where it was Carrier and Matheson that was tasked with shutting down McDavid at 5-on-5, which they did very well. Only on the power play did McDavid really thrive. So I'm not necessarily worried there. For me, it's definitely at forward that, I kind of look at the depth and I'm kind of like, what's going to happen here? Joshua Roy, clearly not in the good graces of Martin St. Louis. Owen Beck, Owen Beck did not do well he was fine, but he did not stand out in the games that he played with the Canadiens. So the 2 games he played this season. Florian Jacki not exactly lighting it up in Laval right now either. To me, ironically, I think the player that's getting the 2 players that are getting the most amount of attention in Laval that could potentially earn a call up to try and see what they can do are Sean Farrell and Jared Davidson.
Man, Davidson with 2 goals on yesterday.
Yeah, and physical fights, just can play a role, can play on the penalty kill. This is a guy that has a lot going for him. We talked about it. Jared Davidson's only weakness is his skating. If his positioning can compensate for that, and he could be a smart player in where he is on the ice, I don't necessarily think that he's going to have many things impeding him from having a lengthy NHL career. So I don't necessarily mind seeing him get a call if they come back to Montreal and they want to send Joshua Roy back down. Because to me, I was okay with what I saw from Joe Veleno, but I think that given the circumstances, I would want to see what one of these other kids can do as they continue to kind of pull the Laval Rocket into the race. So that's where I'm at with that. And then just for fans, because I know a lot of fans asked about this, right? Patrik Laine is out for 3 to 4 months. Could be worse. Could have been a long time. It's a sports hernia. Those are very, very, very hard to play through. Like, it is painful to be able to have to pivot with a sports hernia that is right in your abdomen. It's just not fun.
As a hockey player, it's one of the worst things you can have.
It's one of the worst things. And the fact that Laine was playing through it, I mean, kudos to him. I think a lot of people owe him a few apologies.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of questions in regards to Patrik Laine and LTIR, right? Like, now that he's out, what happens with the Canadiens? Well, the thing to keep into consideration is that Patrik Laine being on the shelf comes at a time where the Montreal Canadiens actually have cap space, right? Trading away Carey Price's contract afforded them about $5 million in cap space. Now I think they're at about 4.5 because they called up Joshua Roy. With Patrik Laine out, because the Canadiens are under the cap, they don't need to put Patrik Laine on LTIR.
Yeah.
And this year, unlike other years, and moving forward, thus matter, if a player is not out for the season, you don't get an LTIR cushion of his total cap hit. So before, we remember with Nikita Kucherov, he's out to the playoffs. Tampa Bay now has $9.5 million in LTIR space to work with. No longer a thing. If a player comes back, even for the playoffs, you only get a maximum of $3.8 million in LTIR relief. But the Canadiens have $4.5 million in actual real cap space, and that number only grows every single day until they get to the trade deadline, and it's going to be around $20 million. The thing to keep into consideration is with a salary cap in the playoffs, Canadiens aren't going to go out and trade for $20 million in salary. They have to get 20 players under a $9.5 million cap hit come playoff time. So that's not going to happen. Patrik Laine being injured, in my opinion, changes nothing on their salary structure and doesn't entice them further to go and make a trade.
Agreed.
I think they're going to try out a lot of their younger players that we just mentioned. And then as we get into November, December, and we're already starting to see trade discussions peak as teams try to figure out what they're going to do this season, that's when the Canadiens will get involved, and we'll see if they can add a piece or, if they can improve their team elsewhere in the short or long term.
A world exists where both things can be true, right? The Montreal Canadiens don't make the playoffs if not for Patrik Laine's contributions last season. And the other half of that statement is, I just feel for the guy, obviously I take mental health very seriously. It's a conversation, we can have for sure. I hope that, he's not too hard on himself in that sense of trying to get back how good he was last year, the knee injury, the rehab from that, and now out maybe in a worst case scenario as much as 4 months in a free agent year for a guy who's trying to find another level in terms of consistency, productivity. I do really believe in the fact that he was widely embraced by his teammates here. They loved him instantly. And I mean, the shot obviously goes without saying how elite it is. I just hope that he can, keep in a healthy spot and get through this rehab, and that, can rejoin this team as the Canadiens, continue to push and stay competitive and try to do some damage when hockey really matters in April,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's kind of the key is you're going to get him fresh for that as well. He's going to come back probably right before or shortly after the Olympics, which is perfect. That's when the Canadiens are going to be making their run. And he's in a contract here. I think people understand. I don't think anybody was going to be giving him a monster contract, even with the way he played last year, just because. So, power to him if he can come back and show the Canadiens that he, when healthy, can be a deciding factor for this team, because there's no way he's going to get a shot off if he's got a sports hernia. That's the reason why his shots probably weren't what they were, right? If you're dealing with that, those are not easy things to play through. And it's not just something that happens like that. It's an aggravation of a core muscle injury, right? So to me, we'll see what happens, right? Because you have to see how he comes back, if he comes back, what the deal is with that. We saw him push off surgery last year with his knee. I wasn't so fortunate enough this time around. Patrik Laine, physically speaking, has to be at 100% because he just no longer has the mobility, in my opinion, to be that kind of guy that he was when he first broke into the league. But if the Canadiens, at this point, the salary is irrelevant. The Canadiens aren't going to go out and spend $8.7 million.
Yeah.
And I can already see the Crosby comments coming. But
you want me to pull one up?
They don't need to. They don't need that money right now. So it's not that big of a deal.
This one's for you, buddy.
Exactly, sir. It actually is not relevant because Laine's 8.7, even if the Canadiens were to use LTIR, wouldn't equate to Crosby's 8.7. It would be a maximum of $3.8 million in LTIR relief space. So checkmate. But all that being said, Pittsburgh keeps getting points. So I'm not too sure about the whole.
Again, the Penguins. God damn you, Penguins.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Tony. Thank you for pointing that out. You're my boy. But all this to say is just with Patrik Laine out, the Canadiens have an opportunity now to kind of funnel in some of their prospects to see who's worth what. Who is worth what? Because I could say with full confidence that when pro scouts are looking at the Canadiens, they're very much paying attention to some of these younger guys that could be potential hidden gems in trade discussions. So the Canadiens brought up Owen Beck. The Canadiens brought up Joshua Roy. I'd be interested to see if there's another player that gets called up when they get back from this road trip.
Exactly.
So to me, I think as the Canadiens try to utilize their prospects and their picks to try and bring in players that continue to help them, that open door is a positive for the Canadiens. Where now they have, and I said this at the beginning of the preseason. Injury brings opportunity. Well, now there's one lucky guy in Laval, I believe.
Correct.
That will probably get an opportunity that they would not have gotten had things stayed the same.
Over 1,200 viewers, an hour and 10 minutes into our show. Thank you for everybody for tuning in, spending some of your morning with us as the Montreal Canadiens get to 7 wins in their first 10 games of the season. No team, as you wake up on this Sunday morning, has more points than the Montreal Canadiens in the East or the Western Conference as they continue to put a little bit of distance with the Ottawa Senators looking pretty good on the road in Washington yesterday. And, I'm glad you brought up Joshua Roy because I wanted to talk about him for a second. When we speak about Joe Veleno, I don't know if there's one more game on this road trip where Joshua Roy maybe gets another look. When he did get his one look on this road trip, it wasn't a very long one. I doubt that he'll get in there against Seattle, but it's a tough spot for Joshua Roy, man. Just like when he gets in, like I just get the impression Marty's such a trust guy. Can you earn that trust? If you don't have it, you don't really play for him,
Yep. Yeah, and I think we saw it with his comments on Demidov as well, right? Like it's just ultimately
exactly.
for me, thank you, Boo. Ultimately for me, like you have to be able to impact and find a role, right? And I think he's a super skilled player that I don't know that can thank you, Mark. I don't know that you can necessarily put him on a checking role.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna go have a double espresso right now. But I don't know that you can put him on a checking line. So he has to find his identity in the NHL. And I just feel like there's a team in the NHL that's going to give him a shot. Like if there's teams giving like a guy like Reichel another shot, thank you, Steven. I think that there's a team in this world that is going to be, and I believe in the NHL world, just to be clear, that's going to be giving him a shot. To me, I think he needs to go to a team that is in full rebuild, that is looking to inject some youth on the wings. I think that's where he could potentially get his feet wet and thrive. I just feel like wrong place, wrong time with the Canadiens. He's not a player that you can put and impact the game physically, be a two-way element, and he's not good enough offensively, or he's not visibly available enough offensively and doesn't go to the hard areas enough to be a difference maker in a top six. So you kind of see this. You brought up Charles Ludon. It was kind of the same situation.
Exactly. A tweener,
Exactly. So he's got to prove to the Canadiens that he's got to be more of a tweener. It's hard to do when you're not playing, though. And so I do feel for him. But at the same time, I think the one game he got in against Calgary was just a defensive battle between both goalies. I don't think you were going to see much. I didn't think he had a bad game against Calgary, but when Kirby Dach was back, who's coming out of the lineup? With the way that Veleno played on Saturday,
agreed.
I think there's an opportunity for Joshua Roy to have one final audition here and see what he can do in a situation that probably will be a little less defensive than the Calgary Flames. But yeah, I mean, to me, I would give him one more shot just to as an organization to show that he could stand up for a game before I send him back down and you have a conversation with his agent about what his future is.
Don't forget, you can watch this version that you're watching on YouTube at McLean's coming up in mid-November. We'll give you more details as we get there, right? It was great to see so many people at our first ever live show at McLean's Pub at 1210 Peel Street. Great pub menu, great service, so many TVs, an awesome spot to watch the Montreal Canadiens. Chicken tendies, 24 butter. I saw the butter chicken. I saw our friend Brendan, who was seated in front of us. He was having a soup matin. The food, the service, the price points, so good. And of course, thanks to our friends at cheapesttshirts.ca for the merch. Lots of people love that. That was flying left, right, and center. You had people that I guess they became fans of the show when we were at McLean's. Like, hey, they want a T-shirt. They want a T-shirt. Big thanks to Catherine Prince, CatherinePrince.ca, Remax Platine, huge sponsor of the show. Even if you're just looking for, hey, I've been in this house for like 15 years. I wonder what it's worth. Catherine Prince and her all-star team are going to be able to get that done. And, of course, all your pets' needs at Little Bear, littlebearonline.com, curbside pickup and delivery too. And they have all the best brands from around the world and a trusted spot in terms of, you want to know what's best for your pet. You need to put them on a diet. They're not pushing agendas, right? So these are our proud partners. We partner with trusted people. And if you're watching us, we've built up this community together. So thank you for your ongoing support. Marco, parting thoughts ahead of Tuesday's road trip finale at Seattle?
Yeah, I mean, that's a revenge game for the Kraken. So it's to me a trap. Yeah. Wow. That's a trap game in the making. I think the Canadiens, as long as they remain disciplined and they play that
There's
speed.
our boy, Brendan. Yeah.
Yeah, it was delicious. It looked delicious. Let me tell you, it is the hardest thing to do a live show while watching other people eat when you
I know.
yourself are
I know.
a munchy fiend. I was watching people eat. Like Shaun was asking me questions and I'm just drooling. So thank you, Ali, and we hope to see you every Sunday. As long as the Canadiens play on Saturday. I think there's one game a year where they don't play on a Saturday. But
yeah, but we do Sunday 10 a.m.s. Yes.
Sunday 10 a.m. is a classic for me. It's a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I very hard to do a live show when someone is eating some goodness in front of you, and it was hard to stay concentrated. But we will be back at McLean's on November 17th. Live show is expected to be at 6:30 with a 7:30 puck drop. It will be against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So that will be a very important game for the Canadiens because those are two teams that, in my opinion, are going to be vying to take a step this year. And that'll be one heck of a fun game. So I hope you're able to join us. It'll be at McLean's Public House this time, so right up the street. And we will have the live show on the speakers on the PA system with a live Q&A with fans. So we want you all to come, get involved. We'll make sure that everyone's taken care of, and we'll have some more goodies to give away as well if you join us on that night.
Absolutely, and especially our friends at Morella's Steakhouse in Ganawage, Highway 132.
Yeah, a lot of gift cards.
We got a lot of gift cards to give away. They love what we're doing here, and we want to reward you with an unbelievable dining experience at Morella's. No tax on the bill, too, if you like keeping a little extra money in your pocket while eating fine food. And Morella's Steakhouse, Highway 132 in Ganawage, they've outfitted us with a lot of gift cards. So, who doesn't love it? I've always heard, I've been in the media so long, I've always heard, free food tastes best. We've got lots of gift cards so that you can live your best life and eat some delicious food, thanks to our friends at Morella's Highway 132 in Ganawage. All right, Marco, this has been an unbelievable live show, and a huge thanks to the Montreal Canadiens for that righting of the ship, blowing a 2-goal third period lead, taking a 2-goal lead in the third period, and holding on for a 4-3 win over the Vancouver Canucks, who have now lost 3 in a row. And the Canadiens, you wake up today, you're watching this show right now, nobody has more points than your Montreal Canadiens. Let's enjoy this ride together. The road to 20,000 subscribers begins with you guys, an unbelievable community. Thank you so much for your viewership, your comments. You guys were fantastic in the comment section today. This is exactly what we want, is an engaging community that's respectful, that can have differing points of view, and we can talk about all the subjects in a non-radicalized way. And so I appreciate that very much. Please hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget, we've got lots of content coming up. We'll talk about the Calder race, as I mentioned. Where's Demidov there versus Matthew Schaefer, who's having a phenomenal debut as an 18-year-old defenseman for Patrick Roy's Islanders. We'll get into Mike Matheson, contract extension talk, and we'll also have your live show on Wednesday morning. Marco, thanks as always. Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy some relaxation. I think we've all earned it together, and we'll be back here tomorrow morning with some conversation around Rookie of the Year and Ivan Demidov.
Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you.